What is going on, guys, and welcome to a new video. And as promised, here is the final budget Kerapac hard mode solo guide, which is going to focus on the range combat style. So this was probably the most highly requested of the styles, and I understand why. A lot of people gravitating towards range at the moment. And I'm glad I left this one till last because, full disclaimer, this is by far the hardest style at this kind of tier to solo Kerapac with. So quickly to touch on the gear, we're using kind of full pernix, chaotic crossbows, and then we've got the usual Cinderbane gloves, amulet swords, and then we've also got fleecing boots. And the price of this setup is similar to all the other ones, so like 250-ish mil mark. And I wanted to keep it consistent across all of the guides and not start using like Ascensions and Greater Ricochet and Sound Combo Spec and all that kind of stuff, because that is all obviously really expensive, and I don't think fits in well with this kind of budget guide, and obviously we'll be better off for the intermediate guide. But anyway, for those of you wondering, okay, I'm relatively new to PVM or relatively entry level, like you might be still using Revolution and wanting to test out full manual, you're not super comfortable with like soul split flicking, then I would say if you're starting to learn this boss, then definitely go for magic. And the reason for that is the animate dead spell with the damage reduction and the Gothic Stash special are just super powerful in terms of dealing enough damage to get the kill done and not having to tank too much damage at the same time. With this range setup, you don't have any of that, so you don't have the damage mitigation from the animate dead spell. So we look at the melee guide as well. You've got Vampirism Scrimshaw to heal you. You don't have that, so you're tanking all that raw damage and having to do the same amount of DPS at the same time, which makes it pretty difficult. So I died like again and again and again trying to get this. And for a bit of context, it took me maybe 1 or 2 kills to get a reasonable kill with the magic and melee setups. With this, it took me well over an hour before I got a kill. Like even got a kill, never mind like a good kill that I could use for the video with like showcase examples. So definitely this is difficult. That being said, hopefully people with maybe slightly higher tier gear, say they've got Ascensions or the tier 99 Prayer or Sangobo or Darkbow EOF, hopefully they can take snippets out of this video and rotations out of this video that will help them to kind of do specific sections of the fight before the intermediate guide kind of comes out. So that's kind of the little disclaimer that I wanted to go over. It was difficult. All of the stuff that I'm using is on screen at the moment. I'm not going to go through everything as per usual. Down in the description is the spreadsheet with every single item that I'm using. The only item you might be like, hang on, why is he using like an ancient cloak? The reason for that is, and this isn't essential, I don't even know if it's worth doing it, but I just did it because it kind of made sense in my head. With the animate dead spell, you get damage reduction with magic tank gear that you're wearing, and this cape counts as a magic tank gear, and it doesn't, because the armor rating isn't very high, it doesn't reduce your affinity enough to affect your hit chance on the echoes. So you should have best part of like 100% accuracy on the echoes with this setup, even with that cape on, and then you just get a very small amount of damage reduction from the animate dead spell, which you can use at the bank. Again, not essential. Doesn't really help out once the echoes are dead. You're going to get smacked like 4 or 5 Ks, which is not the easiest thing to tank. But I just thought I would explain why that is there. But you can definitely just use like a normal cape in that cape slot. All right, so as usual, we'll commentate over the top of the video, go through everything we're doing, talk about some of the rotations, and hopefully this will help you get some more successful kills. Now, the rotations in this, you have to be fairly accurate with your timing, particularly on phase 4. So, quick disclaimer there, but yeah, we'll go into it now. So, as with the previous kills, we'll pot up at the bank with our weapon poison plus, and then also animate dead if you're using that magic cape, not essential there. So build up to 100% adrenaline. Again, highly recommend the heightened senses relic if you've got it. If not, then Berserker's Fury is fine, but that extra 10% does help. So we'll surge into the room, defensive to stall, and then pot up. And Kerapac is going to spawn. Listen for the, it's always used World Guardian. Throw your Vuln Bomb and go into your ultimate ability with a planted feet switch. And you're definitely going to want to have planted feet because it basically means that you can have an ultimate up for the majority of the kill using the time warp ability. So the rotation here with is planted feet switch, adren pot, and then needle strike. We're going to go into snapshot and then snipe, and then into another needle strike, and this is where he's going to do the special attack. So we're going to run underneath him and then go into a channeled ability, which is going to be rapid fire. And that's basically, you're going to have dealt with that first special pretty easily. After that, needle strike again into a tendrils, and then you can go into like snipe, needle strike, bombardment. So it's a bit flexible at this point in the kill in terms of what you're doing, but you want to be able to get, as he's about to do his jump attacks, needle strike into snapshot ability, run forward, and then you want to escape backwards back into your death swiftness. So your death swiftness will be close to running out now, and we're going to go into our second rapid fire. And at this point, I don't move out of the way, just pop on your mage prayer and then just move. You lose a couple of seconds and a bit of damage in the death swiftness, but I couldn't find a way around that really. If you've done reasonable damage, you should be down to around the 300k mark at this point, and this is where we're going to put some bleeds on. So fragmentation shot, and I can't remember the name of the bleed, but yeah, put your bleeds on and just start building up your adrenaline. Pop on your mage prayer, move to the middle of the room. I find this quite nice for handling the lightning. So we're 100% now. We're going to use snapshot and we're going to use rapid fire again once we can, because our ultimate is still on cooldown. The lightning's going to come out. Now I've tested a few rotations here, whether it's worth doing the ultimate before or after the lightning, and I've come to the conclusion that the safest way to do it is just to ultimate after the lightning. So we're basically watching the direction it's coming from, using basics, not trying to use, make sure you try not to use like snapshot and rapid fire after this point, because they'll be then on cooldown for in your death swiftness. So we're going to surge through the lightning. Now it's important that you don't just go straight into your death swiftness here, run back towards MD so that you can death dot under him when he does the next smoker clack. So we run back towards Kerapac, get in as close to MD as we can into our second ultimate, and then in this ultimate we don't have an adren pot, so we're just kind of trying to build adrenaline to get our thresholds off. So into a snapshot, always do snapshot first, because that means you get 2 snapshots off within the ultimate ability, which is more damage. Build up to rapid fire, get into your rapid fire. At this point you can use your enhanced Excalibur, because we're going to use it again in the last phase, and it'll be off cooldown if you use it around this point in the kill. Be ready for this attack, and this is the reason that I like to use fleeting boots, is because if you're in a rapid fire and he does one of these attacks or he's doing his jump attacks, you can still run around with the rapid fire on. So you can see here, rapid fire's still going, I'm running underneath him, and then I'm going into a snipe, because that will hold me in place underneath him, so that I don't move out of that DD. So you see we're around to like 120k mark now, and it's just rotating, thresholds around needle strike to do the most damage, get your second snapshot off, and you should be close to kind of phasing the boss at this point. We're going into the second jumps, but we've only got 50 or 10k left, and that's that done. Mistime the surge there, but it doesn't really matter. Just try and drag Kerapac back towards sort of the center of the room. So at this point we're putting bleeds on, just waiting for that other special attack. You can see I'm bringing him back towards the center of the room. I'm going to time warp into, actually no, sorry, I'm not going to time warp, because it's death swiftness is still on cooldown. So we're going to DD underneath him, wait for that to come off, and now we're going to go into our death swiftness and time warp, or time warp first I should say, and we're going to use our second sip of adrenaline pot here. The reason we use it here is because it allows us to do, within the time warp, it allows us to do a snapshot and a rapid fire. Now this is another reason that so you should do snapshot, snipe, rapid fire. I missed the snipe in this specific example, but what happens is when you get reset by the time warp, because you're wearing the fleeting boots, your rapid fire will still continue to run as well. So that's the benefit of doing that. You see here, rapid fire is still running, and I get reset, and my rapid fire is still going. So you get the benefit of a full rapid fire in a death swiftness, and then both your snapshot and your rapid fire get reset. So you can see here, another snapshot, needle strike, run forward whilst doing a bombardment, and then we're going to escape backwards. And then I do some basics here, run forward, escape backwards, and then into my rapid fire. The reason I wait for the final jump is just because then you don't have to move too much out of your death swiftness. You can just tank the hit with the melee prayer on. And again here, needle strike into tendrils to get another snapshot off. It's just all around, focusing on that needle strike and doing your strong hitting abilities after that, because you get the 7% damage increase. And you can see here we're around 250k life points when the second lightning is coming out. So I'm putting some bleeds on and I'm preparing to deal with this lightning. And there's different rotations you can do to deal with this. I take a res and just do a reflect here and surge through, because it's a relatively easy lightning pattern. If you get a more difficult pattern, you can do a reflect and a debilitate. That's really just up to you. You want to deal with it as quickly as you can though, and get back into kind of MD of Kerapac, and then we're going to go into our second time warp and death swiftness. Now we're not going to have an adrenaline pot available for this, which means we can't do that adrenaline pot, snapshot rapid fire. If you've got limitless, then that's what you can do, but obviously you don't have the limitless sigil available to us in this showcase. So we're just going to try and build to rapid fire. If you get lucky with some impression procs, you can get there, which means you can get the rapid fire off just as the time warp ends, and then because you've got the fleeting boots on, you get reset, but the rapid fire keeps going. So you can see here, I'm just kind of trying to build my adrenaline up with some basics. I get an impatient proc here, which was lucky, and then I go into the rapid fire, get reset, and the rapid fire keeps going, which means, just a bit of extra damage there. Ready to go underneath him, and then we're gonna just dump our, threshold abilities, snapshot, rapid fire again, snipe, blood tendrils, bombardment. Just get all those off and try and get it down to the next phase as quickly as you can. And yeah, so you can see here, jump attacks again. We're just dumping those thresholds in, run forward, escape backwards. And then we go to a second snapshot, escape backwards, and then I'm trying not to use my kind of rapid fire here. Now you can see that I actually go into a time warp and death swiftness. And the reason that I do that is you basically want to use it as soon as it's off cooldown, as long as you're not about to kind of go into a lightning phase. Because if you go into a lightning phase, you kind of have to move around and you waste some of that death swiftness. Here, I'm going to waste a little bit because it's going to be phasing on the phase animation. But I'd rather do it now because then I can do another one in the next phase to get it down to the required threshold to go into phase 4. So go into a time warp and a death swiftness. Just doing some basics while it's doing its animation. I should be soul splitting here because I would be healing back a bit of health, but I didn't. And then get time warp back, and then I'm going into kind of my rapid fire. And what you'll notice is I'll just scroll back a little bit in time here. When the time warp is still active, my rapid fire, I'm waiting for him to stop his special attack, and then I go into my rapid fire within the time warp. And essentially that means I get the same benefit. I get the rapid fire off, reset with the time warp, and my rapid fire is still going, and then I can go into my rapid fire again, and also tendrils and stuff. So I'm waiting. So I went into tendrils there because I knew that the tear 3U attack was coming, so that I could DD underneath it and then go into the channeled rapid fire attack to stop me moving out of that DD. So you can see here, and then so needle strike into the rapid fire, and then my snapshot's off cooldown now, so we're going to go needle strike snapshot. And then probably into a snipe, or a bombardment, needle strike, snipe. So it's all about kind of balancing the rotation around that needle strike, doing your strong hitting abilities and thresholds once you've done that. Now at this point here, it's going to do the slam attacks. I'm going to wait till after no, I'm not, I'm just going to, so there you could probably just wait until after the second slam and then go into your time warp rotation with death swiftness. I just go a little early there, and then I'm running back. It's going to do the final slam, melee prayer on, and then just get back into my death swiftness. Again, I got lucky with some impatient procs, which meant I got my rapid fire off basically a tick before I get reset. So rapid fire, reset, rapid fire is still going, and then I can go into snapshot and rapid fire again. And you can see here the HP is around the 240k mark. So this was a relatively good showcase example of a kill that's gone well. If you kind of mess up your timing with the death swiftness, so you can't do as much damage because you do it in the lightning phase, or you mess it up with the jump attacks, then your HP might be a little bit higher, which is okay. But I know that the lightning's coming now. I'm just going to try and do as much damage as I can and prepare for this lightning. So you have a couple of options in terms of what you want to do here. I basically just go for the tank approach which is, as the lightning's getting close, reflect a bill. And you see, you don't really take that much damage. You reflect some damage back onto the boss, and it kind of deals with that pretty nicely. I'm getting to the point now where we're going to phase it. Because the H key is around 116k, I'm not going to go into another time warp Death Swiftness, because then I won't have it off cooldown for phase 4, which is going to be disastrous, and you don't want to do that. If you're around like the 200-250k mark, because your DPS hasn't been as strong, then you can go into another time warp Death Swiftness rotation at this point. So for this specific kill, we're just going to be doing basics and thresholds to get it down to the next phase. Make sure you're ready for that walk under attack. Now, it's not a disaster if you mess up the DD, which I do here because I had a Vuln bomb ready to click, so I accidentally threw the bomb instead of standing underneath Kerapac. And I don't get under quick enough, and the lightning comes out. Now, this isn't disastrous on phase 3 because you just basically kill it on phase 3 and it won't appear again. So let's say you mess up the start of phase 3, you're not going to get another lightning for the second time he does this attack, because it's only if you mess up phase 1 and 2 that it can then repeatedly do it on the next phases. So in this situation, this is fine. If you get one of these on phase 3, don't worry about it, just kill it. If you get it on phase 1 or 2, then you might want to consider resetting the kill, because it's just a pain, because you're always going to get it throughout the rest of the phases then. So you can see here, I think I just pop a Devotion. It's a nice defensive to use. We're not going to use it until a little bit later in the phase 4 rotation, so it'll be off cooldown. Deal with the time thread tear, and then we'll get Kerapac down to the 50k threshold. This just added a small amount of time to the kill, which wasn't too bad. So you can see here where bleeds on again. I just get Kerapac down to that 50k threshold. Try not to use like your rapid fires and your snapshots at this point, but like bombardment was okay because I'm not going to utilize that too much. So we're in the southern part of the room. Southern clone is the first clone we're going to jump into. So we're ready to go. Jump to the southern clone, Mage Prayer on, and re-overload. Overload's just run out. And what you can do is run back towards the northern clone, as we do in all the other kind of video guides, and pop your vitality pot. It's going to double your health and mean that this clone is going to last much longer when it's fighting the Echo. So we jump into the north clone, which means your HP goes down. Now, you need to make sure you're relatively accurate with the placement of your Death Swiftness. You don't want to place it too far away from this Echo. And you need to be able to hit both the Echoes with crossbows within your Death Swiftness. So you'll see here the location that I go is there's like the little kind of spike. You want to go just slightly north of this, and this is a good place to drop your Death Swiftness. So we're slightly closer to the northern Echo than we are to the other one. So we're going to get Time Warp and then Death Swiftness, a Dren Pot. Then we're going to go into Needle Strike and then into a Snapshot, into a Snipe, and then into into a Rapid Fire. And the same situation is going to happen there, where we get reset, but we continue the Rapid Fire because we've got the Fleeting Boots on. Now, if you drop your Death Swiftness in the wrong place, then, so let's say you come a little bit further towards this kind of section here, when you get reset, you'll be out of range of the Echo and your Rapid Fire will stop. So that's why the placement of this is really important. And then we can go into another Snapshot and another Rapid Fire. Basically, we're going to use our enhanced Excalibur spec now that the Time Warp is finished. And then we're going to, once this Echo is low, we're going to swap over to the next Echo and just try and dump as much damage as we can with like thresholds. We went into our second Rapid Fire and into our bombardment. Now, things are going to start to get difficult now. One of the clones is dead, so everything is enraged by 25%. And Echoes are going to start to die, so everything's going to get more enraged, and it's going to start to hurt a lot more. So we go into a Reflect and a Revenge, and then we're essentially just doing basics to build up adrenaline, and we should be able to get another Snapshot off. I should mention this is with our Defender switch, so we can get another Snapshot off here. Now, I actually put this into the Echo that's nearly dead, because we're about to go into our Time Warp Devotion rotation, and I want to be able to kill an Echo whilst my Devotion is up to extend it. So I drop my Snapshot into that other one to get its HP lower, and then we're going into swapping back to the other Echo to do our rapid fire. So this is where it's a little bit dynamic and based on HP and how much you've left with the echoes, because we don't want to kill it until we can extend our devotion with it, but we need it to be low enough that we can kill it within the 10 seconds that we've got. So you can see here I'm starting to take a lot of damage. Clones are dead, so I do my time warp devotion, and basically I'm putting a bit of damage into this one, and I'm going to swap back to this echo to get the extension. Now I messed this up a little bit. You can see I was late, so I've only got 3 seconds left on my devotion, and I'm probably not going to get the extension. So you can see 2 seconds left, and I knew I wasn't going to get the extension there, so I popped my second devotion. Ideally, you want to get the extension on your first one without having to pop this one, but it's not a disaster if you don't. So you can see here, this is going to get extended, so we're up to 13 seconds now. And then we're going to go back to the other echo, which is nearly dead. We're going to eat up a little bit, and we're going to finish this off, and this is going to extend the devotion again. Now, ideally, at this point, in an ideal scenario, you've actually only popped one devotion, and you finish those 2 echoes off with 2 extensions on the first one, which means you can go into your second devotion once this extended devotion runs out. Doesn't happen in this scenario, and it's not a disaster. We can still get through the kill, but we're just gonna have to change the rotation a little bit. So what is important is adrenaline levels at this point. You can see I'm 100% or 110% adrenaline, and you're gonna want to be as high adrenaline as possible. Now you should have your reflect off cooldown at this point. And I panicked a little bit here and I reflected too early. You can see I've still got 4 seconds left on my devotion. Essentially, when that devotion runs out, you want to go into a reflect and just start attacking Kerapac. Now, you will have resonance here as well. So I should have been able to get a little more damage onto this echo within the reflect, but because I did it early, I'm going to have to go into my Cade a bit earlier, which, again, not disastrous. So that resonance that I did there is optional. If you feel comfortable shield swapping and taking the resonance, then do it. If you don't, then you can just go into a time warp Cade, which is what I do next. So we do time warp, barricade, and then we're just basically, attacking this echo, drop a vulnerability bomb, although that apparently missed. Spam your Ripper at this point. Now you can see here I get reset on the time warp, and it could be very easy to just go straight into your second Cade. You don't want to do that, because you should still have time on your first one if you've got Turtling 4. So you should still have probably 4 or 5 seconds on this Cade. So you'll see what I do is I actually use the adrenaline that I got back to do a snapshot, rebuild to 100. Now I take a hit there, but that's fine because my HP was high. And it's important that when you did that first time warp, you try and have your HP as high as possible, because if you time warp on low HP, then you can get comboed out easily when it runs out. So get hit, second ability or second barricade. Now I should have brought a 4-dose adrenaline potion with me, but I didn't. So with a this is where you would use another adrenaline pot sip if you actually remember to bring the right amount of doses. And we're just trying to get this down as quickly as possible. So we're building up to 50% and getting the rapid fire off. I was slow on this echo for this kill, and this can be a dangerous situation. If you can see my Cade's about to run out, we've still got an echo alive, and Kerapac's going to start attacking us, and we're also relatively low adrenaline. So my priority here is to get this echo killed as quickly as possible and build my adrenaline as quickly as possible. So you can see here we go into the rapid fire. We're about to start getting hit by both of them, and it's about to hurt. Now I get lucky with a devoted proc, but you can see here I just took 4k through my shield and through an Elysian. So this is where we're going to start eating a little bit of solid food if we have to, and definitely keep an eye on your prayer, because you're going to get smited real easily if you don't keep an eye on that prayer level. You can see I'm just safing up massively. Now, because we've done the double Cade rotation, our res is off cooldown again, and that's really useful because you can basically take a little bit of damage from Kerapac, like so, whilst you're building. So I take a couple of hits and then I go into a res. That's going to bring me back to full HP. It can heal you for up to 6.5k. So it's super useful to get a res in there. And then what we want to do here is go into another time warp rotation, and we're going to do time warp, devotion, time warp, death swiftness. So we need to get to 100% adrenaline as quickly as we can without losing too much health. So you can be defensive here, and I go into a debilitate. Go into a preparation just to help with the resonance cooldown. You saw how quickly my prayer dropped then, so I drink a prayer potion sip. We're almost at 100% now, just eating up, and then we're going to go into time warp devotion, build to 100%, go into your death swiftness, and then make sure that you're ready to spam click your devotion as soon as you time warp, because your other devotion will have come off, and you can get hit by the boss at that point. So make sure you're spamming that and you're not on global cooldown. Now we've got 10 seconds to do as much damage as possible. So snapshot, rapid fire, and at this point your reflect is going to be off cooldown. So this is optional how you want to deal with the next bit depending on food levels. You can use your defender, you can use your shield, but yeah, you'll have a reflect to use, so I opt for the defender. So I go into a reflect and a revenge. So you see here, revenge, reflect. I actually don't use a reflect, I just opt to DPS apparently. Take a resonance, and then into another debilitate, and just finish off the kill. And yeah, that's kind of it for a range kill. And by that's kind of it, like, it's difficult. It will take practice. It'll obviously be easier if you've got like ascensions to do a little bit more damage, and maybe slightly better armor. But range, in my opinion, is definitely one of the harder styles, particularly if you don't have kind of, you know, the best in slot kind of gear. Like, yes, if you've got greater ricochet and you've got Serengobos and you've got an Eldritch, you can just dump so much damage on everything that you can kind of brute force your way through it. But, you know, not everyone is going to have access to that. All right, so that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope that you found it useful. As I said earlier, you know, definitely a more difficult style with the entry-level gear. Yes, range is super powerful when you've got billions in gear and unlocks, so greater ricochet, EOF Serengobbo, Eldritch Crossbow. You can dump out just crazy amounts of damage when you've got those upgrades, but it actually feels a little underpowered at this level, or maybe not underpowered because the kill times were relatively similar, but for this boss in particular, other styles are definitely more suited for learning, particularly magic. The damage reduction that you get from Animate Dead just really significantly helps with rotations on phase 4, and helps with kind of being able to focus on DPSing without having to eat too much food. So for anyone that is going for kind of entry level stuff, go with magic. And the reason that I think it's also worth going with magic is that it is getting a bit of love and attention at the moment, and I've been testing out some higher tier setups, and it is great fun to use and actually pretty fast. So yes, there are people out there getting like 3-minute 40 kills with range, which is just insane. That's a super high kind of bar and skill level to do that. I would say I'm kind of relatively good at PVM, but I'm by no means the best, and I'm doing kind of casual magic solos with dual wield praisals. No 4 ticking or anything like that, and my kill times are like 5 minutes 30 to 5 minutes 40. So I think that with like a Fractured Staff of Armadyl and just dual wield praisals, which is relatively relaxed in terms of the kind of actions per minute you have to do versus high tier range, I think you get kill times down to, you know, sub 5 minutes definitely. So that's another reason to go for magic, because once you get to that higher tier level, you can just have good fun with it, great DPS, and not as like sweaty, I think is the term that people use for kind of that top tier range DPS, because there's just so much going on. And it's also cheaper. You don't have to use Hydric Bolts. You don't have to be dumping tons of adrenaline into Debo specs. So that's my opinion on it. Yeah, I hope you guys found this useful. This is going to be the final budget guide. We've still got a couple of intermediate guides to come out. I may do a showcase of high tier mage in terms of almost best in slot if people are interested. I don't want to put out high tier max gear guides in particular, just because I think that doesn't really cater for the majority of the player base. So we're going to be sticking with the budget and then intermediate guides, which assumes some unlocks but not everything. And yeah, as I said, hope you guys enjoyed. Please do subscribe. It's been great seeing people kind of join the channel and enjoying the videos. So subscribe, put your comments down in the description or in the comment section. I'll chat through with any ideas of how to improve rotations, or if there's specific types of guides that people want to see, then that would be awesome to know as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.